Good morning and well, Happy New Year to everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Trade Setup with me, Niraj Shah. It's a packed week. I don't think there has been a more potent week of news flow from a global markets perspective than this one that is coming up. So firstly, the global news flow. The Dow closed nearly 300 points higher on Friday to begin November on a positive note. Oil rose slightly on reports that Iran is preparing to strike Israel. Also, what happened is that OPEC Plus has delayed the December output hike by 1 month, which also is a bit of a propellant for crude. Berkshire Hathaway's cash pile has now topped $300 billion, 325 if I'm not wrong, but shows that the world's greatest investor is now sitting on a lot of cash, arguably waiting for a crash to come in. So let's wait and watch whether he gets proven right, or do the markets continue to stay as they are. Like I said, it's a big week ahead. November 5th, we'll have the US elections. Maybe the verdict comes in November 6th our time, but nevertheless. Then November 7th, we have the FOMC meet. November 8th, 7th and 8th predominantly, but 8th is when we'll have the outcome of the China NFP meet. And this will get us to know whether there's a stimulus that is coming up in a meaningful way in China or no. Does that have an impact on metals and some of the other global commodities? So lots to monitor in this week that is coming up, so do watch out. But on the US elections, which is the big one, right? Look at this. This is a chart that we've borrowed from polymarket.com. But apparently, Donald Trump's chances have come off from the manic highs that they were at to sub 60%. And this explains the recent pullback that we've seen in prices of gold, silver, and some of those assets as well. So it's very interesting, and what happens here might have a big impact out there too. So bear that in mind. So like I said, US markets did well for themselves on Friday. Futures are quiet right now. In fact, 0.25% lower. Asia, bit of a mixed bag. Nikkei has its own problems to deal with, but otherwise a bit of a mixed bag. Our market should come up on your screen after a brief uptick on Friday, a flattish start anticipated. Let's wait and watch if this is what happens. So what's the trade setup for the day looking like? I think markets are likely to be sideways or maybe a marginal downward bias until clarity emerges by the end of the week on the US election, on the FOMC, and on the China NFP meet, but more so the US Qs. We don't know if the presidential election outcome will be debated, challenged, etc., so on and so forth, but I'm going with an assumption that it'll come out the way it is. Nifty EPS estimates, by the way, I thought what is a very bad earnings season, but the FY25 cuts are about 1 to 1.5% thus far. So no manic cuts as yet, which is maybe a small positive. And if you just look at what some of the individual pockets could do, like auto sales look positive for now. Remember, they've been very strong the first 2 days they've come out. But I think because it was a month with 2 festivals, and therefore October plus November could actually provide to be the right Q as opposed to just October. In fact, as brokerages have done channel checks, there is no major positive swing in demand that channel checks have suggested from brokerages. So bear that in mind. Okay, earnings today, a clutch of names out there. I'll look out for Sun Pharma, look out for Case International, ABB, Tube Investments, Hudson, and some of the others for sure. JK Paper and Raymond also interesting, as also Exide and Bata. Let's bring up individual stocks to monitor in the session today. So IT stocks, this is, by the way, this happened on 31st October, but because first was a truncated session, I'm just bringing this up today, that Cognizant has trimmed the FY24 growth guidance to this band, but they are seeing very positive commentary in terms of deal flow. Smaller deals stable, strong large deal momentum, and therefore this could be this is as per Cognizant, by the way, not for IT stocks at large. But let's wait and watch if Nifty IT has somewhat of reaction on this or no. Zentek will certainly have a reaction. Revenue solid, margins solid, profit after tax solid. Very strong numbers, and very likely that this stock, as expensive as it may be, will react positively. So do watch out for this one. Sun Pharma will react negatively because a US District Court has granted preliminary injunction of delaying the launch of the Leqselvi drug. This was supposed to be a big trigger for specialty segment of Sun. Now Sun can't launch until a subsequent favorable court decision or the expiry of the patent, both of which are far away presumably. So this one will react negatively. Let's breeze through the others. Azad, 5-year pact with Mitsubishi Heavy Engineering for power turbine engines worth 700 crores. Big deal for this one, even though it's expensive, could react positively. The other one which has got on a deal is Premier Energies. Subsidiaries have secured orders totaling 560 crores from 2 major IPPs. Very likely could react positively, this one. Ola could have a positive move too. It's seen a 68% month-on-month increase in retail sales, whereas the industry grew about 54%. So Ola has outpaced the industry. Market share has moved to 30% from 27% a month ago. May react positively. It's a beaten down stock, remember. Hero had an 18% uptick too. in sales. Not a bad number. Let's see if this one reacts. But SML will not, because the numbers look very, very shabby, and therefore this one could actually react negatively. So that's the long and short of the trade setup in the session today, viewers. Thanks so much for tuning in.